It's March 23rd, 2023, about 4:15 in the afternoon, Eastern Time, the only time zone that matters. I'm here in Lansing, Michigan. Just a few blocks away is the state capitol building. I'm along Grand River here at Wentworth Park, where we're having a Second Amendment rally. This one was organized on short notice to counter the anti-gun rally that is scheduled to take place on the Capitol grounds. There's not a lot of people out here, but you can see they've got their flags. Some people are lawfully open carrying. They've set up a little stage with a sound system.
About 5 weeks ago, one of our members got a bug up his ass.
And there wasn't really a lot of notice on this one. There really wasn't a lot of information out there. Plus it was raining this morning, so I wasn't sure how many people would turn out, but I'm glad to see that there are some people here. Cars that are passing by are honking to give their support. Michigan is a pro-Second Amendment state, despite what some people might think.
And then members started showing up with all these pictures. DC Project, Take Pistols, and many more. He said, come join us. And then another member showed up, and he said, we gotta contact our state reps. We gotta tell them no thank you to all these bills that are coming down the chute. We gotta call our county sheriffs, our county commissioners, and then the spreadsheets started, and flow charts. If you haven't had a chance to check out our table, we have all the information there. Please sign up and stay connected. And then look at us now. We're here. We're doing it. And we're not done. I want to thank everybody here for coming and joining us to stand up and say no thank you, and to say that we will not just sit by and let our rights be snatched out from beneath us, but I'll save the passion for the next speaker. And I want to remind you, if you haven't donated, please do. We have a table over here with some cans for cash and the QR code for the Give, Send, Go. We've almost broken even. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker this afternoon, the fire starter himself, Ryn Brindley, also known as Ryan Brennan.
Well, I'm just going to get this started. By now you might have noticed that our supposed representatives in Lansing have once again seized upon a tragedy in order to advance their agenda of gun control. Only this time they were able to do so with a supermajority of petty authoritarians. Ramming through legislation that will not serve to stop criminals from possessing firearms, but to make it more difficult for ordinary citizens like you or I, who have no intention on hurting anyone or violating the law, from owning a firearm for the purpose of self-defense. It is clear to everyone that criminals show a blatant disdain and unwillingness to comply with the law. No matter how many laws you put on the books, criminals will find a way to cause harm. The issue with gun control is that it cannot adequately address this, but serves to punish the law-abiding and embolden criminals. More laws, especially the ones currently coming out of Lansing, would not have prevented the tragedies. Failure after failure to address credible threats on the part of the authorities have proven this, both in the instance of MSU and Oxford. Time after time, they say the same thing. He was on our radar, or we were aware of the threat. What's worse is what occurred in places like Parkland or Uvalde, where law enforcement was tasked with responding to an active shooter, but either refused or failed to adequately act while people were being murdered. Where still, the courts ruled that the law enforcement is not obligated to protect their constituents while being paid with taxpayer money being taken from us with no available alternative or means of opting out. Being an inability or unwillingness to deal with these threats on our behalf, law enforcement has proven that the only people truly capable of protecting citizens in their time of need is you, the individual, who knows what's best for their defense in their time of need. End gun-free zones and allow the people of this great state to defend themselves. Our detractors will claim, as they have time and time again, that they are taking action to save lives, that one more life lost to gun violence is too much, and that they are acting to create a safer society, even going so far to include instances of suicides carried out in their firearms death statistics, probably to increase the urgency of their agenda. Upon receiving the rightful criticism that they had been padding those statistics, they switched gears, claiming that they are creating these laws to also reduce gun suicides, as if there aren't more available means to do just that. It is true that no other means of carrying out violence or self-harm comes with the scrutiny that guns fall under. In their attempt at regulation to save lives, they ignore that these new laws will create tensions between authorities and future and current gun owners, that in order to enforce these new regulations, men with guns must impose the whim of the state upon the citizenry, if forced by necessary, with the potential for deadly consequences for either party involved. Interestingly enough, those who clamor most about their humanitarian intentions are nowhere to be seen when it comes to saving lives that die at the hands of our governments and needless perpetual wars. You will not see the CIA Slotkins of the world at an anti-war rally, especially in a time where the potential for devastating war between two nuclear powers is at the highest it's been since the height of the Cold War. And since our detractors love harrowing statistics to support their emotional arguments, I have brought some of my own. In 1911, the government of Turkey confiscated weapons from Armenians before starving and murdering 1.5 million people. In 1929, the Stalinist regime of the Soviet Union established gun control, disarming 20 million dissidents that were rounded up and purged. In 1935, China established gun control, costing another 20 million dissidents their lives as they were rounded up and exterminated. In 1938, Nazi Germany established gun control and proceeded to systematically exterminate 13 million ethnic Jewish people, dissidents, and enemies of the state because they were unable to defend themselves. I could go on about the murderous regimes that have disarmed and oppressed their populaces, but that would take more time than I'm allotted. No one is coming to take your guns. These laws are just common sense measures to reduce gun violence, they will cry. You can rest assured these laws are a progression in the disease like the one seen in New York, where they parade around Orby confiscations as if they're protecting anyone. When these measures fail to protect anyone, and you can rest assured that they will, even by their own admission, the ruling class will once again begin attempting to pass more laws because the previous ones weren't enough. They will never stop in this pursuit because it is about the guns, regardless of what they may say when the eyes are watching and the cameras are rolling. As I'm writing this, COVID-positive Democratic senators are voting on the House floor as if they hadn't spent years before this creating mandates to stop the spread, shutting down the economy and forcing us plebs to stay home for 15 days, 30 days, a month, 3 months, and so on. And while we're on the subject of Democrat hypocrisy, how can they guarantee these laws won't be abused and weaponized against their minority constituents? How are we to be so sure that red flag laws won't be abused and weaponized by the supposed bigots that exist in mass? How are we to know that law enforcement won't use these laws as an opportunity to abuse people? Because I'm sure that many legislators currently voting for gun regulation have at one point raised the concern of systematic racism in the state. As the organizer of March to Defend Lives, I reject the notion that this conversation has to be a choice between lives and rights. Our rights are not up for discussion or a vote.
Yay.
I reject the notion that guns are solely to blame for violence and that more laws will not solve this issue. There's a better way to deal with these issues that do not involve restricting peaceful citizens' rights and reducing their capacity for self-defense. I reject the idea that more laws will solve these issues. If they did, gun violence would be unheard of in cities like Chicago, where some of the most draconian gun laws exist.
Preach!
That said, I have a call to action for all of you. I call on you to oppose. I call on you to contact your representatives. Tell them you oppose these laws and to work with gun rights groups like Great Lakes Gun Rights to recall and replace the ones that refuse to protect your rights. I call on you to refuse. I call on each citizen of the state to refuse to comply with this new edict. I call on county sheriffs and local law enforcement to refuse to enforce these laws that blatantly violate their constituents' natural right to self-defense. If they refuse, they should be recalled and replaced with somebody who will stand up for your rights. I call on county commissioners to pass resolutions to make counties two-way sanctuaries to protect the rights of the citizens they serve. If they fail or refuse, they should be recalled as well as replaced with somebody who will.
Right.
Nullify. I call on every citizen to refuse to convict anyone tried for having not complied with this edict. It is your right as a citizen to refuse to convict your peers for violating laws that are unjust. Together, we are going to build a movement to oppose the push for gun control both here in the Great Lakes State and beyond. We are going to resist this edict of those that seek to rob you of your ability to assert your own sovereignty over your own life and your property, and we are only getting started. Our rights are not up for discussion or a vote. Thank you.
Let's hope I don't feed back. Hi, I'm Greg. First off, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their day on a Thursday to hang out in this beautiful weather with us. The more that we can show that normal people are invested in this, the stronger our argument's going to be. We're not criminals. I would trust my wallet around every single one of you people. I'd still keep an eye on it, but I trust you. Anyway, I'm just here to take a couple minutes of your time and tell you a story about when I went from somebody who didn't care about guns to somebody who did very quickly. I was living by Wayne State University, 3941 Trumbull. You can look up the building on Google Maps, take a peek at it. I was sleeping in my bed, got up about 4 o'clock in the morning. My roommates had just had a party. I wasn't invited. That was fine. Got up to make coffee, and there's a gentleman in my kitchen named T-Roy. Tall gentleman, had a bottle of vodka in his hand. He was apparently at that party earlier, and somebody had shorted him some money on a transaction. And my friend was here to get his money from somebody, and I happened to be the person who was awake. He found my sushi knife in my dishwasher, withdrew that, and very politely demanded $150. I didn't have a gun. I didn't have my sushi knife. I had a house full of college students that didn't like guns, didn't know how to defend themselves, anything. I woke up one of my roommates. I got him to call 911 while an armed intruder was in my house, threatening my life. It took 55 minutes for the police to show up. 55 minutes of me talking a gentleman out of my house with $150 to not kill me and my friends. When the police showed up, 55 minutes later, they brought a homeless man to my house, and they said, "Is this the guy?" And he said, "No, that's just a homeless guy. Thank you for bringing him to my house, though." "Well, it's too bad you didn't have a gun. You could have just killed him. We'd come and clean it up for you." That'd be all, officer? That'll be all, Mr. Smith. You have a great day. Oh, I sure will. That was when I went from thinking that guns were all right, but not for me, to something that was necessary for me to continue my life if I'm going to live in Wayne County. I'm now a gun owner. I own 3 guns. I'm safe with them. I'm a lawful citizen. I abide by the rules and the laws. But there are people over there, they want to tell me that I'm not responsible, that I have to keep all of my firearms in a locked box buried in my backyard underneath 3 feet of lead for me to be safe. But the gentleman who's going to come through my door and sit in my living room for 55 minutes and threaten my life, he's not the guy who follows rules. He's the guy that's going to get a gun from somewhere, print it, buy it from somebody, find it on the side of the freeway for all I care. I have to go into my basement, unlock my safe, withdraw my weapon, put bullets into it, make my gun ready, and then I'm ready to defend myself. And I don't think that's right. I've already gone through the background check for my CCW, but now I have to go through a pistol purchase permit? Why? So we can employ more bureaucrats? So somebody else can rubber stamp a form, file it to get lost in the mail? So maybe I get a citation because I didn't file my paperwork correctly. Now it costs me $250 extra to be a citizen, enjoying the rights that weren't given to me by anybody. They're natural and they're inherent. I'm a human being. I can defend myself and I can defend my family. So anywho, that's my story. That's how I went from being a college student to being a citizen and an American who's armed and ready to protect myself, my friends, and my family from foreign intruders, domestic intruders, bad guys under the bed. And I hope that you all do the same thing. I hope that you spread the gospel. And I hope that you give everybody the opportunity to speak to you about firearms when they see that you carry. Let them know that you are a lawful citizen. You have not broken any laws or any rules, and you have no reason to be punished. Thank you. I hope that you're all very safe this weekend.
All right, let's go down here and see how many people showed up to the opposition. So unlike the mainstream media, I'll try to be objective. So here I am across the street from the Capitol, and you can see they've got a bigger crowd. Hell, they've got a bigger tent. So We got a podium set up there. This looks like a Second Amendment rally. Unfortunately, it's the opposite. And you can see Channel 4's down there. Channel 2's got a small vehicle down there, so they got press attention, of course. But there they are. So although the rally was small, I'm glad they had it, especially in such close proximity to what's going on down there. It's important that people get out and organize and attend these things. Unfortunately, with this being on a weekday afternoon, it's difficult for a lot of people to show up, and it really wasn't promoted like the other event. So when I'm talking to somebody who's kind of apprehensive about going to a rally, who's never gone to one, or who just wants to give me a bunch of excuses as to why they don't attend, but yet they say they support the Second Amendment, maybe you get an idea why. They've got the numbers down there because they bring in people on charter buses. They've got the numbers down there because they've got rich people supporting them. They've got the media on their side. We don't. But that doesn't mean we just give up. We don't find a way to fight for our rights, fight for everybody's rights, even their rights. It's unfortunate that so many people are ignorant, or so many people are just trying to get behind a cause that involves their feelings as opposed to all of our freedoms. But as long as we've got groups working like this to organize, I think we've got a chance. We've always got a chance until we just give up and throw in the towel. Thanks for watching.